His tactics for sure have to be scrutinised as well for the way we've managed the league season this year. 100%. I don't disagree with that. I've been a big, I've criticised his tactics all season pretty much, but I have seen signs of adaptability, albeit not much in the Premier League, a little bit in the Premier League, mainly in the Europa League run. But that does give me something to cling on to, that maybe he can do it next season. So I'm not saying we can't sit here and say no, he cannot adapt. It's not in the conversation. He can do it because we've seen it with our own eyes.
When his job's on the line.
Fine, but it's
huge difference.
That's fine, but it's culminated in us in getting a trophy. And also, Savi, his job is going to be on the line at the start of next season. He's going to be fighting for his job from the start of the season.
So, Ben, would you give... let's assume, guys, right? Sorry, if I can just ask a question, right? Let's assume that Spurs spend 150 million this summer, just as a round number, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to debate about how much we're going to spend, but... The problem I have with this theory that a lot of fans have of just give this manager the first 10 games, see how he does, right? First and foremost, you've had 2 full seasons to see how he does in the Premier League. I don't know what 10 games is going to change, right? Mm-hmm. Second of all, and just hear me out, right, guys, all hypotheticals, if we give this manager the 150 million pounds and he signs 5 or 6 players, and then after 10, 15 games, people are going, oh, he's got to go. He's done terrible. He's fighting for his job. It hasn't worked. He's got to go. Now we've written off all of next season, right? You've got a manager coming in exactly the same way Amorim did to Man United, with a group of players that might not play his system. You've got a chairman who's going to say, well, hang on, I've just spent all my budget on that manager. And you've also got, and we all know this, managers are a lot harder to get halfway through a season than they are in the summer. So that's my worry of let's just give him the start of the season. So you see where I'm a bit worried, right? If we bring this to a middle ground, you see why I'm worried about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand. But also, if you bring in a new manager now, you've had Ange, who's been in this club for 2 years. He knows how many times have we heard a manager come into this club, whether it be Conte, Mourinho, we've had even Ange himself. We've heard a lot of managers come in. They're very excited to come and join Tottenham. They've been sold a project, and then they say after a few weeks or a few months or however long, I've only just started to realise what the real problems are of this club. I've only just started to realise what it's like managing this club while being here. So any new manager is going to have to go through that, who we bring in the summer. Ange already knows the problems. He knows what he's contending with. He's already gained success within that chaos, winning the Europa League. In terms of overview of the first 2 seasons at his football club, yes, this league season's been disaster, but a 5th in the first season and a European trophy in the second. I can't think of a manager in the Premier League era for us in their first 2 seasons who's been able to achieve that. So and he wants to stay here. He's not like Conte or Mourinho or who's basically saying to the club, you're lucky to have me, all this kind of stuff. Like, he wants to work within the parameters of the club. He's proud to be manager of Tottenham. He's always battling against the narratives against Tottenham, right? He knows the problems, and so he's more, I think, equipped in this summer to maybe deal with knowing what's coming ahead rather than a new manager. Yeah, I think he can.
Because for 2 years we've seen no evidence that he can. So what's changed this summer?
Yeah. Sorry?
We've seen no evidence in the Premier League for 2 years that he can. So I'm asking, does a cup win, bearing in mind these are 2 very different things, cup wins and every week negotiating the Premier League, does that cup win suddenly make him tactically astute? Will it stop the inverted fullbacks? Will it stop the high line? Will he implement a number 6? Like, all of these different things.
On the flip side, does finishing 17th and disregard him finishing 5th when his tactics were working in the Premier League?
But the tactics were working for the first 3 months of the Premier League, and then we fell off an absolute cliff, didn't we? And we hung on for dear life. We were losing week after week in the second half.
Only right at the end. If you take last season, right? First 10 games was obviously great. We then obviously had that Chelsea game and we lost two injuries and we had 2 sendings off. We had a little bit of we had a dip in form for the next 5 games. After, I think we lost 4 of the next 5 games after those first 10. Then for the next 16 games, we won 10 and lost 3 and drew 3. So we actually had pretty decent form.
Do you want the stats?
I'm just saying facts. That was pretty good form for those 16 games.
Sure, but it wasn't, because it wasn't good form.
So
those
are results.
For the first 10 games,
yeah,
we were first in the form table.
Yeah.
For the last 28 games of the season, we were 13th in the form table. So when you're saying that's quite good form, it's not.
Well,
right?
I'm taking it in chunks. I'm saying those 5 games we lost 4
sure,
and 5
so
because
it's
we had
10
a little
games
scrubs.
versus 28 games.
Okay, so why are you doing your 10 versus 28? I'm making it even more specific, so you can actually get even more context. You're just saying 10 versus 20. I'm saying 10, right? Then we had a little mini injury crisis where we were struggling. Romero, Van der Ven, Madison, whatever, they're all out for a bit. So we lost 4 of the next 5. We then, for 16-game block, we won 10 games, drew 3 and lost 3. That's nearly half a season, a 16-game block. Then for the final 7 games of the season, we played the top 5 away from home. And we lost 5 games on the final 7. Okay, look, so that's what that's the content season, and we deserve to finish it. Like we missed out on top 4 on by a point or something.
Sure. Okay.
So it can work.
So then
we would have got top 4, but we chose to back Man City.
Exactly.
Sonny etched his names in the Legends book that night.
Okay, so I'm just saying, I'm saying that they can work in the Premier League, those tactics. Now it's about can he do it?
Yeah, but this season,
he's not been showing that.
Your argument. They do not work. His tactics do not work.
But they did. No, this season, right?
Not in the Premier League.
For the first,
not in the Premier League.
For the first 12,
or in the Europa League, Alex. Alex, he won the Europa League by ditching his own philosophy.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
Well, he did.
No, in the final he did. No, in the final he did. Final, I agree. In the final he did.
And
Frankfurt at home, Bodo at home, RZ at home. I thought we played really good football. We deserved to win those games. Good attacking football.
He wasn't playing the Ange way. That's why we got further.
Who cares?
No one's going to care. But no, that wasn't the question. Still, with who cares?
Yeah.
The question was that his style of football. He didn't use his style of football to win the Europa League. I'm not knocking that. Yes, still that shows adaptability.
Yeah, he needs to adapt.
What I'm saying is,
he needs to adapt.
Okay, so he sees his style of football doesn't work and gets ripped apart weekly in the Premier League, and doesn't adapt and just stands on the sidelines, arms folded, watching wingers get in behind our inverted fullbacks and does nothing. That infuriates me.
It's true. He knows that his style of play won't work,
and
he knew if he carried on that style of play in Europa League, he knows that he wouldn't have won it for us. That's why he changed.
The last 2 months in the league, the last 2-3 months, he stopped doing it. He stopped doing it. Maybe listen, you guys have got a strong possibility of being right. He's going to do the same thing next season. He'll be gone by October, but he has begun to tweak it, and don't you want to? Just maybe he now gets it. Maybe
okay,
now
so he began to tweak it as Crystal Palace ripped us apart.
Exactly.
As Brighton ripped us apart. Wolves ripped us apart.
You're really going to talk about a game where they've been drinking for 4 days straight? Come on.
But the thing is simple. This is the thing, guys. Every game, I've said this for the last 6 months, I get, but that game didn't matter because we've got a European game on Thursday. That game didn't matter because we've got a final. Apparently, none of these games that we lose matter. It's madness.
When we got ourselves in a situation after come like March time when the league had completely gone, obviously it was the right thing to do to prioritise that the Europa League.
But why did that mean playing gung-ho tactics? Why not continue the tactics you were using in the Europa League and the Premier League?
Do you know what mistake I think Ange made, right, with the Premier League this year? Is that I think once he installed it in the squad, we're going to win the Europa. Right, and he drilled it into them. We're going to do it. You just got to believe this is how. I think subconsciously some of our players switched off in the league. I think they're like, do you know what? Fuck it. We're not going to get top 4. We're not going to get relegated. Whatever. I think a lot of our players subconsciously switched off in the league, and I don't think that was necessarily a wise move by Ange. I think some of these players, because some of the performances I saw from certain players were just shocking. I'm like, why are you not like that in Europe? And I think some of them subconsciously just turned off, and that was a mistake from Ange, in my view. I think he got that one wrong.
Yeah, I completely agree. But like everyone's just disregarding the fact that everyone was saying Ange needs to adapt, Ange needs to adapt, Ange needs to adapt, and when he does, you're all just saying, but you're still going back on the moments when he didn't adapt. But he finally did adapt and brought home a trophy.
But Ben,
how is that not credit to him?
He didn't in the Premier League over 38 games.
He didn't adapt because he wanted to. He adapted because he had to. There's a difference between those two.
But he actually did adapt, and it got success for him. So what's to say he won't carry on adapting moving forward?
What's the difference, Alex, between wanting to or having to? I don't understand. What do you mean because he wanted to?
Because it was by choice.
What does he mean? Yeah, he chose to adapt. Yes, he did choose to
Yeah,
adapt.
why could he not choose to adapt in the Premier League then?
He adapted in the final, especially to win the trophy in a way.
So why didn't he adapt in the Premier
League? I'm talking about the
in the
Premier League,
Europa
not the
League.
final.
He did play attacking football. We played very well in the home games in the Europa League, and we did play good attacking football. And we deserved to win those games. It wasn't necessarily all just sitting back like we were in some of the away games. It was actually playing good attacking football and going after teams. It wasn't just that. Premier League, we've played our second team. He actually has adapted in the Premier League. It just hasn't worked. It's been bad. Yeah, Palace maybe was a bit different, but I think some of the other games, Villa away, right? Do we play gung-ho football in that game? Or did we sit back and soak up pressure? Like, we actually have I remember we went to Everton away. We went to a back three. Like, if you actually look at as well, a lot of the heat maps during the season, yes, at the beginning, we were inverting a lot. But actually, as the season's gone on, we've inverted a hell of a lot less because he has changed it. But just because we're losing, you say he doesn't adapt just because you're looking at the result. But no, he actually has changed things.
Completely.
Well, it's true.
Man City 4-0 was an adaptation of his tactics.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the case in point, Ben. There's the case in point. The game against Man City was exactly how Spurs should play, with a tight back four, yeah, tight in the middle, and counter-attack with the likes of Kulusevski, Maddison, Son, whoever, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah. And then what did he do straight after that game? He goes straight back to the inverted fullbacks. If you watch Spurs nearly every game, the wingers for the opposition have a field day because they are just left in acres of space every game. Right now, again, look at the Crystal Palace game the other day. People say, oh, it was before a final. Forget when it was. That is our tactics most games, right? Munoz had the freedom of White Hart Lane down our right-hand side. And at no point did Ange say, Jed Spence, who was playing left-back, Jed, tuck in 10 yards. At no point we just keep playing high. And it's like every other team's manager knows, get the ball to our wide men. Listen, the proof is in the pudding.
But
Sim, hang on. If he's going to let's meet in the middle. If you're going to, no, don't roll your eyes, mate. You've invited me on. If you don't like what I've got to say, kick me off. Don't roll your eyes at me like an idiot.
Come on.
Don't roll your eyes at me. You've asked me for my opinion, and now you're rolling your eyes at me.
Come on.
All right, come on.
All right, well, cool, but I don't come on for have my eyes rolled at.
Sam, get your point across. Get your point across. What's your point?
Jesus Christ. Right?
Sam, land your point. What were you saying about Man City played one way, then the next game you played a different way?
Listen, you don't lose 22 games, right? Concede 65 goals, get 38 points and a 1 point per game average over a season if he had adapted. You don't. This is so disingenuous. If you guys are going to give him the credit that he deserves for the trophy, which I agree with you, then he has to take the flack for the Premier League. It has to work both ways. It can't be, he was brilliant in the Europa League, he adapted, look how good he is. Oh, in the Premier League, but this excuse, but that excuse, but. He did shit in the Premier League, just say it, and he did brilliantly in the Europa League, just say it.
No one is saying that he didn't do shit in the Premier League. Not one person on this panel has said that. No one has said that. No. No one has said it's completely unacceptable, the form and everything that's gone into the Premier League campaign this season. No one is disagreeing with that. But the fact of the matter is, he's shown signs of adaptability. He's won the cup, something that no manager has done in a very long time at Tottenham Hotspur. And on top of that adaptability that he has shown, that means he deserves to take the team into next season to see if he can carry on that adaptation in the Premier League. And if he can't, and if the Premier League goes the same way, he'll get sacked, and he'll get sacked rightly so.
Yeah, that would not be good for us because then you're looking for a manager mid-season. There's not going to be any available managers mid-season. That's why you got to do it now. You do it now, or he's here for the next season and you back in properly, which I don't want. You've got to do something now or not mid-season. We can't be going through sacking a manager mid-season.